23.8 million or 17%. That's the global rate of postpartum depression. 1 in 6 mothers, 1 in 6 women. They enter motherhood already carrying the weight of exhaustion, identity change, hormonal shifts, and then fall into a darkness they never saw coming. But what I'm going to share with you is a standard practice that contributes to the rise of the world's most spread disease, and yet most people have never heard it. What we rarely acknowledge is that for many women, the roots of their depression don't start after birth, they start during it. When a mother experiences disrespect or violence in childbirth, her risk of postpartum depression rises by 50 to 60%. And when you place that next to another global pattern that between 30 and 50% of women across countries report mistreatment, neglect, or obstetric violence during childbirth, the picture becomes impossible to ignore. These are not rare exceptions. They are symptoms of a deeper failure, a maternity care culture that often treats women as passive bodies, not active participants. We are not looking at isolated events. We are looking at a pattern. Because birth is supposed to be the moment a family begins, not the moment trauma begins. One of the clearest examples is the Cristela maneuver. Strong pressure on the upper uterus to force the baby down. It sounds very clinical, but for many women, it feels like violence. And violence is always what the mother says it is, not what the system says. There is no evidence of benefit, the World Health Organization does not recommend it, and when performed without consent, it becomes more than outdated, it becomes a violation. I know this because I witnessed it. I was 18 in my first training as a midwife. I entered the profession full of idealism, tenderness, and the belief that birth was sacred. But the delivery rooms where I trained taught me something very different. I saw women shouted at, rushed, ignored, procedures performed without explanation, bodies treated as objects, not partners. I saw Cristela used routinely, even though we were taught it had no basis in evidence. I saw episiotomies done without any consent. And slowly, painfully, I realized I wasn't just observing, I was being shaped by it. I became part of it. Not because I lacked compassion, but because the system rewarded obedience over humanity. And it broke something in me. So I left. I quit. I walked away from the profession I loved. Because staying meant adapting. Staying meant becoming one of them. Repeating harmful routines until they felt normal. I refused to let that happen. Years later, after healing and reclaiming my voice, I returned. This time, I completed my training in a different hospital. That's very important. And this time, I came back not to survive the system, but to reshape it. Because survival, as essential as it is, cannot be where we stop. Birth is not just a medical event. It's the beginning of a family. It's the moment a mother is born, too. So yes, saving lives must always remain a global goal. But if we stop here, we are thinking far too small. What do families truly need when they enter the world? They need safety, but also dignity. They need skilled care, but also compassion. They need to be alive, but they also deserve to feel seen, heard, and be protected. Because, as you heard at the beginning, far too many women get sick. Not because of what went wrong in their bodies, but because of what was done to them during birth. And when we look beyond survival statistics, it becomes painfully clear. Too many births do not honor a woman's humanity. Births where her voice were ignored, births where she felt powerless, Births where trauma, not joy, became the first memory of her motherhood. Across Europe, North America, Australia, up to 1 in 3 women describe their birth as traumatic. Up to 43% report moments of disrespect and violence in obstetric. This is not a statistic, this is millions of women. We must call it what it is, abuse in childbirth. And I refuse to not say it because these women deserve for it to be named. We speak about it so we can change it. Their newborns were placed in the arms of a mother who felt alone, frightened, and ashamed. And postpartum depression follows too many of them. This isn't happening in under-resourced settings. This is happening in some of the wealthiest healthcare systems in the world. Systems that pride themselves with modern medicine. And I don't speak about these failures as an outsider. I speak as a midwife who has lived in exactly this system that creates them. I worked with these people. I trained under the routines that caused the women harm. And I heard one phrase way too many times. It's for the baby. But harming the mother is never for the baby. When I returned, years later, everything on the surface looked the same. But I was not the same. I was no longer a student trying to survive. I was someone who had seen the cracks and refused to look away. I slowed down when the system demanded speed. I explained when the system preferred silence, and I listened when the voice filled the room. I centered the women when the system tried to center anything else. And what I learned painfully and clearly is this. When we protect the mother, we protect the baby. When we honor her dignity, we strengthen her mental health. When we respect her choices, we empower her transformation. And when we listen to her, we begin to heal generational trauma. So, what must change? I believe there are 4 essential pillars. First, respect and consent-based care must become non-negotiable. Consent is not paperwork, it's protection. No woman should be touched, pressured, or intervened upon without her full understanding and agreement. Second, outdated, harmful, or unevidenced practices must be retired. The Costello maneuver is just one example. If an intervention lacks proven benefit or carries clear risk, it does not belong in routine care. Third, maternity care must become trauma-informed. Birth is emotional, and clinical training must include empathy, communication, and shared decision-making. Last but not least, postpartum mental health must be part of standard care. If 1 in 6 mothers struggles, the screening, support, and stigma removal must be mandatory, not optional. Now, imagine this. A birth room where the first question is, how would you like to be supported today? What do you need to feel safe? A maternity ward where the woman's voice is the most important monitor, where legal guidelines are not the ceiling, but the floor, where mothers leave not only healthy, but whole. Babies entering a world wrapped in calm, dignity, and respect, because their mothers were treated with compassion. This is not idealism, this is entirely possible, and it is the minimum women deserve. The way a mother is treated during birth shapes how she begins her story. And the way her story begins shapes the world her child will grow up in. So, to governments, to health ministers, to hospital leaders, this is your call. If we want healthier societies, it starts here. If we want resilient families, it starts here. If we want equity, dignity, and better outcomes, it starts in the birth room. Change birth, and we can change everything that follows.